National NBA viewership is down 18%. Last year's NBA Cup final averaged 4.58 million viewers, while this one averaged 2.99 million viewers. Kwab, there are a lot of reasons why people are saying that ratings are down. A lot of people have a lot of opinions. I want to hear yours because I personally am still kind of working through what I think. I think it's a mixture of like 100 different things, but I want to hear what you think.
It's definitely a mix of a lot of things. I think part of it has to do with like so a lot of these people that keep spewing in the echo chamber about how the ratings are down. They don't like basketball. I don't think most of y'all like basketball. I just don't think you like basketball. You don't watch basketball. You don't care about basketball. You might care about your parlays, but you don't really care about basketball. You know what I mean? You might care about a specific player, but you don't really care about the game. I saw a lot of people talking about, well, part of the reason why the ratings are down is because everybody plays the same. That's not true. You don't watch basketball. They know Team A doesn't play like Team B. The Nuggets don't play like the Warriors. The Warriors don't
Yeah.
play like the Knicks. The Knicks don't
Yeah.
play like the Celtics. Like it's just there's similar plays here and there, but they don't the personnel and how they play is not the same. People make these weird complaints. They're like, oh well, because back in the day, these teams had their identity, so you get a different type of vibe if you watch like the grinded out Grizzlies or like the way the Spurs. Y'all didn't like them. Don't lie. Y'all weren't watching the
I
Grizzlies.
like the Spurs.
Y'all weren't watching the Grizzlies slow it down and like
Right, right.
throwing the post and was like, oh, this is it. Y'all weren't. Y'all they called the Spurs boring. They
Bro,
said
the Spurs are the only dynasty not to have a bandwagon. Can
they
you think of
called
another dynasty not to have a bandwagon? Do you know those? Do you know any Spurs fans? Anybody who does not live in Texas? Do you
like
know Spurs fans? Multiple, not one, multiple Spurs fans. You don't.
like
Lying. You're lying if you say you do.
they called the Spurs boring. You call the Spurs, they're like, oh man, it's not the same like back in the day. Yes, we used to sit there and watch the Knicks and the Heat fight for 20 hours, and then the game would be like 75-60, like that's and you're like, oh man, everybody shoots three. So what do you want to bring back? You want to see like when the Pistons used to run floppy action for Rip Hamilton for him to shoot twos. He would run off screens and shoot. We have that with Curry. Curry runs around all around and shoots threes, and he's one. And people the complaints like, well, it's not exciting. What are you even talking about? Like one of the
Yeah,
most exciting players is one of the most generational shooters of our time in
yeah,
Steph. Like it's just I just keep seeing the same things. We're like, oh, it's so boring, and this is the reason why nobody watches. We the product of the NBA is the only major sports where the media thrives of being negative to the team and like the players. And it's not just on the media level. It's on social media. Troll accounts do so much better making fun of players, making fun of plays than it is to prop up a player. So it's just
yeah,
negativity after negativity. So now, if you're a casual viewer, before you even watch a game, you're watching the game through a negative lens. So why would you sit there and try to enjoy a game and see like positive moments when you're just seeing short clips here and there that is shitting on the game? Like, and I get it. We live in like the short clip era where like everything is like quick, like TikToks, clips of videos here and there. So that's all we view, and people are watching that and being like, "This is a representation of the league." It's not. There's every team in the league has something positive and something exciting you can watch. Every team, I like. Yes, even that you can name me any team, I can say something positive about them. Even like the worst team in the league, like and every time I keep seeing this, then it became like this weird hot topic for weeks now. It was like, oh man, this is why ratings are down. This is why ratings are down because you have people on like First Take or whatever it is. All they do is spend time shitting on the game
yeah.
inside the NBA, shitting on the game. We can talk about the NBA Cup you just mentioned, where it had two of the best young teams playing, in the Rockets and the Thunder, and the headline on the NBA.com app was like, "Well, maybe this is not the team you wanted. These are not the teams you wanted to watch."
Apologizing.
Like what? How is that? How is that the right promo?
Right.
Like you have Shea, who's one of the best young stars in the league. You have Sengun, like who's another one of the best post players in the league, one of the best players in the league, hands down. Two of the best defensive teams in the league. They were top in the West, and we're talking about, well, this is not really what you wanted to see.
Right, the Rockets are the 2 seed, bro.
Yeah, like
I think they were like 3 around the time, but yeah, like what did?
like,
Yeah, that was bad. That was bad.
This might not be what you wanted to see, and that's what's being pushed. And then people are like, oh man, I wonder why ratings are down. Also, and this is going to be my last point. The other thing, the one reason why ratings are down is because yes, it's hard to catch a game unless you're subscribed to this or that. Most of the time, people are watching illegally. It's happening. It's gonna keep happening because there's too many blackouts. There's too many times where, like, even if you have League Pass, you can't watch your favorite team. There are times me and you when we have to, like, we were trying to do a recap of a game, and we have to figure out how we're gonna be able to watch this, and we have to kind of skew the system on League Pass to be able to watch a game.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. I'm moving back to New York. Holla,
sir.
But, like, I can't watch Knicks games
Blackout.
on YouTube TV. Like I'm gonna have to order the Gotham City.
The
I
Gotham
have
app.
lived in New York a long time.
You got
I'm in Miami right now. I can't. If we wanted to do a Heat recap, I can't do a recap of the Heat.
Can't do it.
I can't. Like I can't get Kwab to do. If I want to do a Knicks recap, I can't get Kwab to watch the Knicks game tonight or tomorrow. I can because it's on ABC.
Yeah.
But most games, and I mean, forget about the Nets. I mean, you ain't Nets recaps. You wanted now.
All of them. I watch. That's why I watch it. That's why I had to buy. I had to get the network. That's a fan. But again, that's
seriously though.
There's too many. There's too many different little factors, and the NBA is a global game. Like people are watching overseas, but here it's just negativity, lack of access, and negativity. That's what it is. So people are like, "Oh man, we need to do this." No, you need to stop being so negative when you have so many young stars coming up. We don't have to create these storylines and all this shit for it to be happening. There's great players and there's exciting players on every team. Just make sure to highlight them. They do such a bad job highlighting some of these players. I feel like I knew more about all these other older players when I was younger than I do now. Now I just know the BS. I get the BS all the time. Like I'll see the BS on the timeline. Like anytime something goes wrong, we'll see it. We'll see the jokes. We'll see the negativity. But we don't know nothing about. We don't see anything about the positive. We don't talk about how some of these teams are growing, how well they're doing, like how well the Thunder are doing right now. It doesn't get highlighted enough. What gets highlighted, what I saw during the Cup was they're bringing up, oh man, Sam Presti they haven't won a championship yet. I'm like, what? Like, why are these the talking points?
Jordan. No, I'm serious. It's everything gets compared back to Jordan for better or for worse. It's always like, this guy's good, but he's not Jordan. This team is great, but it's not Jordan. Like everything, Jordan's legacy, I wouldn't say Jordan himself, but made it about if you don't win a championship, everything else means nothing. Means nothing. It does.
Can I make a point about Jordan? And
of course
people,
you can.
People who are Jordan fans, I get into this debate with my friends on camera a lot. Okay, you saw The Last Dance, right?
Yeah.
You saw The Last Dance, right? Okay. What parts of The Last Dance? Did you remember the part where like he was hanging out with Celtics players before the playoffs and hanging out with Charles Barkley like before the finals? Yeah. But then all these players like even Barkley would talk about, we weren't friends back in the day. We didn't hang out. Now all these guys are buddy. Dog, you were in the finals and you were talking about, this my man's like he's a great like what? That's
They're
one.
lying.
That's
They're
one.
lying.
That's one. Two. During the playoffs, I think it was against the Nets where this man went to Atlantic City to go gamble.
It was against the Knicks.
Yeah, against the Knicks. Sorry, sorry, I didn't want to. Against the Knicks, he went to AC to go gamble, right?
Yeah.
And then when it was like brought up, like when it was reported, written in newspapers. Guys, there used to be newspapers back in the day. It was brought up and written in newspapers. He was like, he decided he wasn't going to talk to the media because he was upset.
Yes.
Imagine that shit happening now. What the reaction would be. And I'm a Jordan fan. And imagine pick up. Imagine LeBron. Imagine LeBron being filmed going to gamble in Las Vegas before a playoff game, and then it's brought up like he's like, "Yo, you were there the night before," and he's like, "I'm not talking to any of y'all." Imagine the news cycle
Yeah.
and how much he would be berated
Yeah.
throughout the whole thing. Like, love Jordan, but different era. This social media era, as we all know, it's toxic as shit.
I think that's a lot to do with it, man. I
Yep.
think it's the social media aspect of it. I mean, no one's ever good enough. You're gonna have haters. I mean, on my for you, by the way, like, I don't follow this account, but like, there's this thing called Brick. Damn, what's it called? Brick Center or something?
Brick Center.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
same.
like
It pops up every time.
it's like LeBron James for the win, and it's him missing. And it's like, dude, like, you just exist to make fun of the game, and then you wonder why people don't want to watch the game. It's so toxic, and it's because in social media, takes like that, they get magnified and multiplied. Like, that's an easy way to get attention.
Yep.
An easy way for me to get attention right now, I'd be like, yo, Jordan sucked. And honestly, he's not even top 5. This is why. And I could just list off bullshit that doesn't make right. And I'm lying. I'm lying my ass off, right? Like, but people will clip it and be like, this motherfucker crazy. And you'll get like 10% agreeing with me because like they're haters.
Yep.
And then it's just constant engagement. And to me, like, that's part of the problem. I think more of the problem, honestly, is access. What you said,
Yeah.
the fact that like growing up, like I just knew the Knicks were playing on MSG. You know, the Nets were playing on Yes by the time, and before that, it was Sports. What was it called? Sports Channel. I think it was just called Sports Channel. But like you knew where they were playing, and now again, like all my friends from New York are telling me, "Oh, you got to get the Gotham Sports app to watch the Knicks." I'm like, "What the f- are you talking about?" Oh, by the way, it's like $25 a month. It's what are you talking about? Like it's just. And sometimes it doesn't work. Oh, that's great, cool.
Yeah.
Like it's just a lot. And then you do have streams like, I wonder how this goes into play, but there's an app called Playback where people watch the games with their favorite like influencer. I know our boy Gifted's on that, right?
Yep.
So he'll go on Playback, and so is Will, Bias Houston Will, Fortune, who's been a guest for Rockets. He does Playback. And you have hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people watching it with these guys. Yep. So you're not getting those ratings, but there's still 1,000 people watching the game with their favorite influencer or their favorite sports personality. Games are being watched illegally. So for me, it's like, I see these numbers. We're talking about why the ratings are down, but are they down? Or is it just what we're measuring them by is down? Like just the avenue that people usually see them is just no longer the avenue in which people are watching. Because when I go on Twitter, when I talk to people, this is anecdotal, obviously, like you can't take this as for data, but people seem to be engaged with the NBA.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, when I was in New York last year, the whole city was talking about it. I couldn't go around out. I mean, Midtown is different because you have tourists, but outside of Midtown, I'm wearing a Knicks jersey, everyone's like, go Knicks, like talking to me about that. So for me, anecdotally, I just don't see that no one cares about the product. I just think people are getting the product in different ways, whether it's illegally or through these new things like Playback. And maybe ratings are down a little bit, but I don't think it's as crazy as maybe some of these numbers are suggesting. Like, I do think it is kind of a red flag or kind of a it is true that they are down because like that number I just said about the NBA Cup going from like 4.5 to 2.9, that's a significant drop. And you can't explain that because of, an app. Like there's probably some of that there, but like.
But that's easy to explain. That one is easy to explain.
Well, the Lakers weren't playing.
Exactly. That's the biggest market.
It was Bucks Thunder.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And it wasn't the inaugural season. It was the first NBA Cup last year. It was, it was a lot of hype around it. I just think that a lot of this is overblown. And for those of you who know me from Jenkins and Jones, you guys know that, like, Mike says this all the time. The guys say this all the time. This conversation is just a jumping off point for people to talk about what they don't like about the game and not actually talk about why ratings are down. And I think a lot of people don't like you said, Kwab, they don't like NBA basketball.
They don't like basketball.
They like highlights.
They don't like basketball. They like arguing and being negative. They don't like basketball, period.
It's just an avenue for them to debate.
Yep.
Is what you're saying. Okay.
And then Taboo, you made the point, right? You're talking about you're gonna have to get the Gotham app just to watch the Knicks, right? When you get back to New York. What's gonna happen next season when the deal changes? So now games are gonna be on like what, Amazon or Disney or like
Yeah, that,
Netflix. Like think about all the streaming shit you're gonna need just to like maybe catch a game, and it's probably gonna be blacked out on your regular channel.
it's
This is
annoying. And then honestly, like I'm a Knicks fan, but I like watching the Nets. When I lived in New York, I would watch the Nets on Yes.
yeah.
I would. I like watching the Nets, and if there's an app I have to get to watch Nets, I'm gonna get that too because A, I have a basketball podcast.
Check.
B, this is part of my job. For those who don't, I produce sports content for a living for companies that whatever. And C, like I enjoy basketball. Like I want to watch the Nets play, even though they're bad. I care about the Nets on
We're
some
okay.
level.
We're okay. We're not bad. We're okay.
So yeah, I think access has a lot to do with it, man. It's just no longer, and then you're fighting for attention, right? Like you have Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and Hulu,
Yeah.
and just HBO Max. Like there's just other things to do. People DVR games now. Like I'm not the type to do that. I need to know what's going on when it's going on. But there are a lot of people who are like, I'm gonna tape the Nick game and watch it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like that's what some people do. So I think a lot of it has to do with that too. I think you're just never gonna go back into time where people are watching basketball the way they used to watch it in the mediums they used to watch it, and you got to stop comparing it to football.
It's not.
Because football's
Please
king
stop.
in this country.
Please,
It's just
please
is.
stop. Please stop.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
not.
at the end of the day, I feel like the NBA is a very coastal league. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to get too many people in Iowa and Arkansas and Kansas like caring about the league. They're more into college football. They're more into college basketball. But the NBA, I mean, the truth is they just don't have teams to root for. You know what I mean? There's not a team in Iowa. There's not a team in Kansas. But you know what? You better believe everybody's watching the Jayhawks game.
Yeah. And football.
You know what I mean?
Football happens once a week.
Right. The stakes are so high
Stakes
every
are
game.
high. Yeah. It
Every
doesn't.
game.
Like basketball, we talked about in previous segments where it's like it's a long season. We always say that when at the start of the season, like they'll figure it out. They have time to figure it out. Football, you lose 3 in a row, but buddy, you might have to get it together. Like
Yeah.
that might be it. And to boot, like this, the point I always made to one of my friends, I was like, the NFL is the only sport where it happens on Sunday and people would rush out of church to go catch a game. Like
Right.
it's
Because it means everything.
It means everything to them.
That game means everything. Every week it means something.
It means something. It means something. So
Every week.
there's no comparison. There's no comparison. But
Yeah.
the issues that the NBA has, it boils, like you said, boils down to, like we made a point, access and the negative rhetoric that keeps being spewed about it. That's not, you're not gonna, what happened to promoting the game and marketing the game and building the game? That feels like it's been lost, and people would rather hate on the product than to build it up.
Yeah, and I agree with the fact that I think the NBA can do a better job of branding their teams. Like I don't know if this is nostalgia or if this is me being young or us being young, but when we talk about it, but like NBA and NBC's, man, like if it was a triple header, I wanted to watch every game. Like
Yes.
Jazz Sonics, I knew I was getting Stockton and Malone. I knew I was getting Stockton and Malone, and I knew I was getting Kemp versus Peyton. Without a doubt. Like there was like I just knew. You turn on TV, and a lot of it has to do with load management, right? And like how many times have you and I wanted to do a live reaction to a game, like let's just say Nuggets Warriors, and it's like, oh, Jamal Murray's out, okay. Oh, Jokic is out too. Oh, so they're not playing Steph, okay.
Okay.
Is this game even worth?
Tuning in, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be like, oh, we'll catch the next one. Yeah.
Right. And I'm not saying that particular thing happened, like that particular example, but there are examples similar to that where Kwab and I are like, this is a huge game. We want to react to it right away so that we can get it out. And then it's just like, what is it to react to? Like if the Nuggets and Warriors play each other and the Stars don't play, how are Kwab and I going to get on here and be like, this is what this means for the teams going forward? Because it's like you didn't even play your best players.
Yep.
So it's just a lot, man. And I'm with you. Like I just feel like there's a lot of negative energy and a lot of bad takes, and I do want to blame mainstream media for that, like ESPN and the First Takes of the world. But honestly, man, at the end of the day, I think independent media is just as bad, bro.
Just
like
as
if
bad.
not
I agree.
worse.
I agree.
If not worse. And I think we need to stop with this narrative that like it's all ESPN and Fox's sports and for Fox Sports' fault. Like it's our fault too. Like as independent creators, like I go into Nick's. I'm not going to call out anyone particularly in Nick Spaces, but you know when Spaces started, I'm a huge Nick fan. I wanted to be a part of that community. But every time I would speak or go into these rooms, like the people who had the biggest followings or had the biggest voice or always had the microphone or always got reactions were the people saying wild fucking shit about the team and the players and these takes that are just toxic and brutal and mean. Like I hate to say it, but and it's just like after a while, I don't want to be a part of that. It's just I don't want to get in a space and have to make my name by ragging on a player and calling him trash and cursing him out and going on a rant that I don't
and
even
just
really
being
mean.
just being like dirty talking about it.
Yeah, man, it's just like
even to your point though, I understand what you're saying where you're like, yeah, we don't want to blame you don't only blame big media or the mainstream media, but you also blame independent media. Independent media, their problems like they're following what they see in mainstream media.
exactly, yeah.
You made one of the best points. Like everybody hates like Stephen A. and
One of my
Stephen
most
A.
viral tweets ever,
Yep,
bro.
hates Stephen A. and Skip. But then when they all want to sound like them. They all
Yeah,
like
yeah.
cosplay as them
Yeah,
when it comes
the
time
tweet
to it.
was
So
y'all complain about Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless and hop on a space and sound just like them. That
exactly.
was a tweet.
And
Yeah,
that's been the case, but then it's taken a step further. It's like, okay, how can how can I benefit from that? Now you like with how people make money off social media and like X or whatever. Like you said, like a page like Brick Center or just troll pages who they wake up and just be like, let me get this negative content out because people are gonna be receptive to it, and
yeah,
that's what's being highlighted in the league. So if that's what's being highlighted, and then you have somebody that's doesn't really watch and it's a casual, but they're exposed to that as that being their viewership, why would they tune into a game if all they're seeing is the worst highlights ever?